This is my development project on Nepal. Nepal has an HDI of 0.574 and it is ranked 149th in the world. HDI is calculated by three things: economy, health, and education. And starting off with life expectancy and healthcare, people living in Nepal average 70.6 years of life and have healthcare. About 60% of those people have healthcare within 30 minutes, compared to developed countries people living in developed countries have healthcare near them just about everywhere they live. And the maternal mortality rate is very high at 186 per 100,000, whereas in the US it's only 16.7 per 100,000. Schooling is very bad in Nepal. They average expected years of schooling in around 12 and average years of schooling at 5, whereas in developed countries they average expected years of schooling in the high teens and average years of schooling in the low teens. They also have literacy rates close to 100%. The gross national income and gross domestic product per capita is also very low in Nepal, thousands of dollars less than what it is in developed countries, and a lot of this is due to the government and how the economy is not stimulated and is very poor. The economy is weak, as I just said before, and it depends mostly on imports to get majority of the essential resources it needs, because Nepal does not have that many resources in its country, so it relies heavily on trade. The government is a federal democratic republic, and it is run by a chief of state and head of government. Nepal's government is weak and has not made a great effort to grow its economy, which is really hurting the country as a whole because they are poor, their people are suffering due to it, and it doesn't make them look good. So this is a family with a very low monthly income of $84. They live in a one-bedroom house and their mother works 75 hours per week. And they spend 90% of their income on food, which leaves a little bit to pay for their houses and clothing. This is their living room and their kitchen, which is unfortunately not the best living space, and it is not what you're going to see in the next slide with a more wealthy family. This family makes almost $4,000 a month, and they live in a 5-bedroom house. And the father owns a travel agency, and the mother works for it, so that's a lot less harsh of work. And their food only costs 30% of their income, leaving them a lot of money to go do other things. This is their living room and their kitchen, which are much nicer, and they have nice furniture to go along with it. So Nepal does a lot of trade. 60% of it occurs with India, and then the rest, China and US make about most of the remaining portion. And Nepal's exports do not make enough money to pay for their imports, so they rely heavily on India's market to get everything they need. And they follow the international trade path, which is shown because they don't have a lot of resources, as I said before, in their country. They rely heavily on trade to get the necessities they need for their citizens and to keep the country going. In the Rostov model, they're in stage 1. You could tell because they don't have a lot of industries and processing plants. The few plants they have are for food and other materials, but nothing major, like major corporations and major technologically advanced corporations. Improving HDI can really help this country, and I said the most two impactful areas were education and jobs. The education system in Nepal is poor, and their literacy rate is very low at just under 70%. And this increasing education links to the UN Sustainability Goal 4, quality education. So I came up with 4 steps to improve education. The first one is mandating a law that states all children must go to school until they're 18 years old, because this will make sure that their education can't be hindered when they're young. A curriculum needs to be created and benchmarks need to be made, since students are not all at the same level depending on their age. This will make it so students that are younger but at a higher level can work with students that are older but at a lower level. And then parents need to be held accountable. Children must get their education, and parents can't say you don't have to go to school and hinder that. Lastly, the proper administrators and teachers need to be running the school, and background checks proving that they have the proper experience and education should be done. Lastly is jobs. 25% of Nepalese people live in poverty, and they don't have good paying jobs, and this is partly because of the government. The government needs to help source jobs, and a lot of this can be done by increasing tariffs, which we'll talk about on the next page. This links to UN Sustainability Goal 8, decent work and economic growth. Tariffs are taxes on imports and exports that other countries will pay them. If Nepal can earn this money, it will really help the citizens and benefit the country. First, the government would need to assess who needs funding by the government, and not everyone does need government funding. So if you don't and you just need help getting a job, the government should be able to help source jobs by talking to businesses and major corporations and getting that information out to the public. If you are eligible for funding, the money being earned by tariffs will go into a welfare type plan like we have in the United States, and sums of money will go to citizens who cannot find work for themselves. And that's it. That's my project. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for listening.